Was Jesus considered a citizen of a country? Do you think of him first as a Jew, or as a man, or as an Israeli, or as a son, a father, a brother, or a spiritual leader? What is the first label that comes to your mind when you hear Jesus? Welcome to Calm in the Chaos, where sometimes we ask questions that have multiple answers. So here are today's queries. Did Jesus identify as a citizen of a country? Now, he knew Caesar was the ruler of the region where he lived, but did Jesus strongly identify as a citizen? There is that passage in Matthew where religious leaders challenge Jesus about the lawfulness of paying taxes. They ask him a question that may seem easy, but is essentially meant to trick him. He asks for a coin, a denarius, the coin that every person in that land would have known and used. He sees Caesar's image on the coin and he answers, "Therefore, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." A very clever answer to avoid the trap, but an enlightening answer for us. Yes, as good citizens of the land, we are to pay taxes, but that is different and it's a separate issue from being a child of God. Our practical lives include following the laws of the land, but our spiritual lives are based on the laws of God. I'm not talking about the laws in Leviticus. The laws of God, so to speak, are nature's laws and spiritual laws. It's hard to dispute nature's laws, such as understanding how the moon affects our tides and pulls on the water that's inside us, affecting our moods. Or how about the law of gravity? We can't dispute that. There are spiritual laws that constantly operate in our lives as well, but they may be a little lesser known. Examples of spiritual laws are cause and effect, or the law of attraction, meaning that we attract more of whatever we think about and focus on. None of these laws of God, not the laws of nature or the laws of spirit, have anything to do with our citizenry, our ethnicity, our race, our gender, our economic status. But those are all categories that interest the government when they take a census every 10 years. Give Caesar what is Caesar's. Give God what is God's. And so the question, do you belong to Caesar or to God? Well, both. But which one is paramount? My passport tells me that I belong to Caesar, or in this case, the United States. My heart tells me that I belong to God. And for me, focusing on my spiritual home, my spiritual connection is much more significant in the long run. I do not, however, take my membership in the citizenry of this country for granted. I just know that when doing what is spiritually right comes into conflict with what is politically correct, I choose the spiritual path. This conflict comes into play every time I play the organ or fill a pulpit in a church on the Sundays that precede a national holiday, such as Memorial Day. I side with the churches that have removed the stars and stripes from their altar areas, and I realize that I may have just lost some of you by saying that. I side with not singing God Bless America in a house of worship, because it narrows the message to imply that we do not want God to bless other nations as much as we want the blessing for our country. And that is in direct conflict with the teachings of Jesus. I'm grateful for the women and men and families who suffered through war and continue to suffer. And on Memorial Day, I commemorate those who gave their lives through serving in the armed forces, but I do so at a community gathering, a parade, a solemn ceremony at a park, not in a church. Oh, I may mention that gratitude in a prayer during the worship service, but I will be separating what is Caesar's and what is God's. Now, before you get me wrong, I sing the Star-Spangled Banner at baseball games and at the Statue of Liberty. I pledge allegiance with my hand over my heart. I pay my taxes. I vote in every single election. I attend local meetings of my chosen party, and I love going to Memorial Day parades. But I know that this is all national pride. What if I had been born in France? I would probably have national pride for a different red, white, and blue. And I would be singing La Marseillaise de la Patrie instead of our national anthem. But my spirituality would still be me connecting with how I understand spirit. That doesn't change no matter where I live. It's bigger than my nationality. We belong to God. We are divine sparks of that great cosmic energy of goodness and wholeness. Oh, to be sure, we lose our way sometimes and either deny or forget that we're part of God, but I don't see any other choice. We give back. We do the work. We're the physical hands, feet, eyes, and ears of God here on earth, and we must give our heart energy to that undertaking. Our spirituality goes with us, even when we choose to be a citizen of a different country or when we become dual citizens. The First Amendment to our Constitution offers these words: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Nowhere does it actually use the words separation of church and state, but that is most certainly implied when Congress may not prohibit the free expression of religion. Lately, this religious freedom has been stretched to the limits, with people refusing to behave in a certain way due to their religious beliefs. I look specifically at a bakery that refused to bake a wedding cake for a wedding couple because they were two men. I believe in my deepest heart that this Christian baker was trying to act on his convictions that God created male and female and marriage is only between one of each. But I believe his convictions are based on teachings created by humans who have inserted their own agendas into the Bible and have lost the essence of Jesus' teachings. We all belong to God. We must all follow the laws of nature and the laws of spirit and the laws of humans as well, or there are consequences. If we defy the law of gravity, and we could insert a song from Wicked here, we break dishes, we break mirrors, we break bones. If we defy the law of attraction and continue to moan about our arthritis, we bring more attention to it and the universe gives us more of it. What's the alternative, you ask? Expressing gratitude for all the body parts that don't hurt, or how the arthritic knees still work well enough to allow us to walk the dog. We cannot live outside the natural laws without consequences. We also cannot live outside the human-made laws without paying the fine. Run that stop sign, hold your wife as a hostage at gunpoint, walk to your car without paying for your groceries, and you will see consequences. Now, I was raised with many friends who were receiving their God and Country Scouting Awards, and it's easy to see how our national pride and our Christian allegiance have become entangled. But the laws of God and the laws of humans need to be understood separately for what they are. My allegiance to the flag of the United States is strong, but in a church, it could pull my attention away from the God of my understanding. and cause me to think that being a good American is part of being spiritually mature. They are two unrelated, distinct parts of who I am. If I forget this, I may slip into thinking that a veteran who served multiple tours cannot be a good Christian, or that Muslims and Sikhs and Jews cannot be good Americans. And I will hold to the firm footing at the top of that slope so I don't slip down it. May it be for you as well to keep separate what belongs to Caesar's and what belongs to God. Our praying today takes a new form. It's called wordless prayer. We will sit for a short while in silence while we let our sorrows, our disappointments, our joys, our concerns, our hopes, we let them be laid before us so Spirit can pick them up and take action on them. Now, taking action from Spirit may not look at all like what we're used to. There may be very little evidence of change on the surface, but know for sure that there is nothing you can silently share with God that God doesn't already know. Allowing ourselves to experience and name the disappointments, the concerns, the joys, helps us to move forward. Wordless prayer allows us to feel the energy around the concerns without being limited by words. Let's enter into a moment of wordless prayer. To celebrate spring and how she shows off her finest colors, our music today is gentle sounds accompanied by photos of color and more and more flowers and color. And since this is not a worship service, I do offer a medley of patriotic music this Memorial Day as you let your hearts remember those who did not come back home.